Hello everybody. Welcome to Twisdom 360 Politics Unplugged. In this sharing episode, we're going to talk about two issues. These issues are connected to each other. We're going to talk about the ceasefire echo from Washington and Tel Aviv. And then we're going to talk about the CIA-backed coup that overthrew Mohammad Mossadegh after he nationalized oil still haunts the Middle East. Washington's Bullets by Vijay Prashad offers sharp insight into how empires moves through oil forfeits and distractions. And at the end, we're going to talk about the NATO summit in Netherlands. The summary of that summit is going to come to you. Don't forget you are listening to Twisdom 360 Politics Unplugged. Ceasefire or Smokescreen, a region on the edge. And let's go. Challenge their proof. The wires, shatter the screen, unplug the lies, reveal what's unseen. Twist on 360, no filters, just truth. Time to awaken, challenge their proof. Yes, it is time to awaken and challenge their proof. Welcome to Twisdom 360 Politics Unplugged one again. Ceasefire or Smokescreen, a region on the edge. Donald Trump is urging both Israel and Iran to honor newly announced ceasefire. But beneath the surface of this televised diplomacy lies an escalating regional firestorm. Just hours before Trump's address, Iran launched target strike on the U.S. military base at Al-Udeid, Qatar, a bold move that defied Washington's and its military reach in the Gulf. Here at Twisdom 360 Politics Unplugged, we see the Iranian retaliatory strike on Qatari soil as a strategic blunder. While Qatar is far from perfect, but it has played a relatively stabilizing role in the region, maintaining ties with resistance bloc, while also offering platforms for negotiations. This attack amounts to a shot in the foot of the very climate of solidarity Iran should be cultivating, particularly among nations resisting U.S. global hegemony and advocating for stronger global South cooperation. Iran was not humiliated, but its sovereignty was violated, and that is the fundamental truth. But the Western media seeks to distort the bunker buster strike on Fordo, Natanz, and the Tomahawk barrage on Isfahan were not surgical. They were imperial. The aim was not just to degrade capacity, but to demonstrate domination. Now, Iran responds not with rhetoric, but with force. And the question becomes, will this ceasefire hold, or is it simply reset before another round of escalation? The spin masters says Israel won the war, but the realities speak louder. The spin master says that the war was won by Israel, but the reality speaks louder than what they say. In the echo chamber of Western media, especially among spin doctors and ad peddlers, the dominant narrative is that Israel won the war and degraded the Iran in the 12-day confrontation. But on X, formerly Twitter, which I like to call a Twitter, public sentiment tells different story. A viral poll shared by World Statistics revealed that a majority across the global South believe Iran has come out stronger, and not necessarily through military might, but politically. The military might, yes, matter, but politically and symbolically, the myth of Western and Israeli invisibility is cracking. And don't take it from me, take it from an Israeli independent analyst, Ori Goldberg. In an article, celebrating article that how Israel failed in Iran. Israeli analyst Ori Goldberg dismantled the myth of Israeli victory in striking piece of commentary. According to Goldberg, Israel achieved neither its neither of its stated objectives, regime change and the capitulation of Iran's nuclear program. Despite Israel's intense bombing campaign, Iran had reportedly moved critical, fissionable materials out of the key facilities before the strikes, blunting their impact more telling. Goldberg notes that Israel's strategy of assassinating senior IRGC commanders, some of the most powerful yet also controversial figures in Iran, backfired. Many Iranians who consider themselves staunch opponents of the Islamic Republic and especially of the IRGC found themselves supporting it. Iranians saw Iran in its entirety under attack, not just the regime. Attempt to bomb regime symbols, including even prison, only worsen conditions for political prisoners. Bombing IRIB, Iran's state broadcaster, gave Tehran the pretext to target Israeli media in retaliation, even Israel's much publicized strike on the so-called Doomsday Clock. A probe symbolic of Iranian rhetoric was described by Goldberg as pathetic. Far from galvanizing global support, Israel found itself isolated. Yeah, of course, instead committing genocide, it's becoming more pariah. The sheer horror and depravity is being committed in Gaza makes it more isolated. He repeatedly emphasized that galvanizing support, Israel found itself isolated. The U.S. did assist, but not purely. Trump launched strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, but quickly pulled back. He repeatedly emphasized his desire for a new deal with Iran rather than war. Even staunch allies like Germany voiced only limited support, refusing to adopt Israel's maximalist demand. The international consensus reverted to the long-standing formula, no nuclear weapons, a position Iran had already accepted. On the battlefield, Goldberg's right, Israel's famed air superiority was not enough. Iranian missiles penetrated Israeli defenses, inflicted massive casualties, and exposed critical vulnerabilities in Israeli cities and infrastructures. Israel's economy was disrupted, its air defenses strained, and its political leadership left facing hard questions. Iranian missiles hit home. Iran's image was not tarnished, and its options for response were not severely constrained. Perhaps most strikingly, Goldberg asserted that Iran's emerged from the war bruised but unbeaten. It was seen as the victim, not the aggressor. It retaliated with measured precision, warned the U.S. in advance of certain strikes, pushed Trump to publicly urge restraint, even against his own Israeli allies. Iran did not collapse. It did not lose. Its deterrence, Goldberg says that Iran did not lose its deterrence and Iran did not collapse. This is an Israeli analyst, independent analyst. It didn't lose its deterrence. It didn't break. It survived and stood taller, especially in the eyes of the world, specifically the global South. Only a tiny minority of the West think that Iran was hidden hard. Finally, the verdict is absolutely clear from our outlook. While we don't dismiss the ceasefire completely, we must speak plainly. This is not a resolution. It is a tactical pause. Iran's sovereignty cannot longer be violated with impunity. Israel, despite its superiority, firepower as claimed, now knows that the cost of aggression is no longer zero. The Gulf state publicly, those bound to normalization under the Abraham Accord, must now choose either stand with expanding Zionist militarism or join the broader anti-imperialist anti-occupation cause in the region. Trump, too, is facing fractures within his base. At the recent NATO summit, he was overhead lashing out both Israel and Iran, deeply frustrated that the ceasefire was unraveling so quickly and that the internal division is tailing, a sign of American vulnerability. Western public opinion is shifting political class may still be beholden to lobbies, but public consciousness is evolving. Global South solidarity is no longer abstract, it is active together with the Western solidarity. This movement proves a fundamental truth. Nations that resist US and Western hegemony can fight back and can win, not just with weapons, but with strategic defiance, coalition building, and dignity. History will decide who stood on the right side, but it is already clear that the script has changed and the empire no longer gets to write it along. Don't forget, this is Wisdom 360 Politics Unplugged. You are listening to the new episode of this program as we are going to our next two segments where we will talk about NATO summit and we will talk about the original problem, the original empire sin that led to the chant death to America and death to Israel, a coup against Mohammad Mossadegh's government.
I've got the wires out of the screen. Unplug the lies, reveal what's unseen. Twist out the list agenda. No filters, just truth. Time to awaken, challenge their proof. Cut the wires, shatter the screen. Unplug the lies, reveal what's unseen. Twist off 360, no filters, just truth. Time to awaken, challenge their proof. Time to awaken, challenge their proof.
Indeed, time to awaken and challenge their proof, and this is what we are doing here on Wisdom 360 Politics Unplugged. The coup that shaped a nation, Iran empire, and the long blowback. When Iranian crowds chant death to America, many in the West quickly point fingers, frame it as a blind hatred, and label the Iranian regime as irrational. But the history is not so forgetful. The roots of this resentment run deep, soaked in oil sabotage and imperial treachery. In 1953, a democratically elected Iranian Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, did something considered unforgivable by imperialist standard. He nationalized Iran's oil company. That meant Britain could no longer steal it under the guise of business. The Anglo-Iranian oil company, now known as BP, had been siphoning wealth from Iran for decades. When Mossadegh dared to reclaim it for his people, he was swiftly branded as communist traitor. And that's how they got to frame you, a left-wing, a communist. We are unapologetically and bona fide left-wings, pan-Africanists here at Wisdom 360, and we asserted, and we are. Now, not because he was one, but because the label justified what came next. The United States, through the CIA, orchestrated a military operation, Ajax operation, with the help of British intelligence. Who led the CIA operation was Kermit Roosevelt Jr., the grandson of former U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt, as detailed by Vijay Prashad in his essential book. I advise you to read the book called Washington Bullets. Declassified CIA document now confirm the entire operation, bribes, disinformation, and the chaos, all to topple a man who simply wanted Iran to belong to Iranians. The Shah was restored, a puppet monarch loyal to the US and British interests, who opened countries' resources for exploitation, and his brutal secret police, Sabak, become infamous for torture and suppression. This wasn't democracy, it was Western imperialism clothed in monarchy and brutality. And now they will tell you the Iranian regime is dangerous, doesn't allow them, and specifically on Fox News, CNN, and Piers Morgan show. The ruthless Shah they backed, having a Shabak, one of the most dangerous police state that ever existed in Iran history. This wasn't democracy, it was Western imperialism cloaked in monarchy and brutality. Even President Obama, in a rare moment of candor, admitted U.S. involvement in that dark chapter. The U.S. used even radical Shia clerics like Ayatollah Abul Qasim Kashani to help in the propaganda war, painting Mossadegh as a Soviet stooge, another lie in the empire's long catalogue. The blowback came. It came in 1979 with the Islamic Revolution. The Shah was overthrown, but what replaced him was not liberation movement. It was an Islamic theocratic authoritarian in its own right hand. But born from pain, betrayal, and memory of foreign occupation, the revolution replaced one form of operation with another. But the West fingerprints were all over the collapse of Iranian democracy, and that cannot be denied. So when the Western media cry about human rights in Iran today, they must first explain their own role in destroying the Iran's only democratic moment in modern history. You don't get to overthrow a popular government, install a dictator, back him for 25 years, then feign outrage when people rise up, even if they do so in ways you don't like. And while you shout about regime change in Iran, you pawn a genocidal settler colonial regime in Gaza armed to the teeth, bombing hospitals, schools, refugee camps, all in your full diplomatic and military backing. Gaza is a live stream genocide and its most documented war crime in modern history. You lost your moral high ground from South Africa to Palestine, to Algeria, to the Iran. The empire has always chosen the side of murderers, monarchs, monsters. It only turns on them when they stop obeying orders. It is time to stop pretending Western empires are a problem. And they are source of instability. Their coups, their greed, their arrogance. These are the seeds that grow into war, reparation, and resistance, and the world will not heal until they face their unforgivable sin. And this is true resistance. Don't forget, still, to Wisdom 360 or Politics Unplugged, where we cut up the wires and shattered the screens to challenge their proof. Today seems like a long version. Let's go again to our intro.
I got the wires, shatter the screen. Unplug the lies, reveal what's unseen. Push down the list together, no filters, just truth. Time to awaken, challenge their proof. Cut the wires, shatter the screen. Unplug the lies, reveal what's unseen. Twist off 360, no filters, just truth. Time to awaken, challenge their proof. Time to awaken, challenge the proof.
Yes, where we unplug the lies and challenge their proof and rebuild on sin. There is a little takeaway from the NATO summit in Hague. The key takeaways: militarism on steroid. NATO has approved a sweeping increase in military spending, 5% of GDP by 2035, tripling post-Cold War benchmark of this 3.5% is for arms and military expansion, with 1.5% for infrastructure. This massive rearmament will funnel public wealth into war industries, and this is criminal. And I think the people are now conscious. There are campaigns against this. Trump's military shadow, though once a NATO critic, Trump now boasts of victory as Europe bends to U.S. pressure. His brokered ceasefire in the Middle East is being used to whitewash his war-mongering, depends NATO's role in global policing. Russia remains the excuse, despite Europe's energy entanglement and the failure of escalation to deliver peace. NATO doubled down on Russia as an enduring threat. This priming ensures permanent arms buildup and sidelines diplomacy. Internal fractures ignored rejected the spending hike, yet Trump threatened tariffs. The summit also muted its language on Ukraine, a signal of fatigue and policy failure. But rather than seeking peace, NATO escalates. I'm impressed by the Spanish rejection, even though they didn't get what they want, but their rejection is very important. That is why putting the left socialist government in place is very important. At least they're going to represent the popular opinion and they will not stand with the war machine. And from allies to war machine, NATO officially adopted a wartime production mindset aiming to normalize endless militarization, factories, drones, cyber warfare, and logistic pipelines, not for defense, but for dominance. And that is the problem of this world. A cartel of militarism is dominating. This is not only military industrial complex, it's a cartel of militarism. This summit was not about peace or democracy, it was about profit for arms dealers, obedience to Washington, and perpetual war. NATO is no longer a defensive pact. It wasn't. It is becoming a transatlantic military industrial regime, siphoning trillions from public needs, health, housing, education into tanks, missiles, and surveillance. This is criminal. People are hungry. These guys are just building up military factories. By escalating spending while softening commitment to Ukraine, NATO exposes its true pace. Not peace through strength, but strength for imperial control, with Trump now embraced the same elite that once condemned him. Europe has traded its sovereignty for an America leash. What a stupid thing. As global crises mount from Gaza to Sudan, Congo to Yemen, NATO's message is clear. Militarize everything, negotiate nothing. The anti-war movement must challenge this drift to global confrontation before the next crisis become a catastrophe, and this is where we stand to challenge this catastrophe on human being. Finally, last but not the last, we are gonna go into the New York mayoral candidacy, and there is something that is absolutely dragging our attention. What is that is dragging the attention? Is the electioneering of mayoral candidacy in New York City. Zahran Mamdani, born Ugandan and socialist in America. The word socialist is very scary in the US. So now he has won the primary election of Democratic Party. We will go to the segment for Zahran Mamdani.
I got the wires set up the screen. I'm about the lies reveal what's unseen. Push that list together. No filters, just truth. Time to awaken. Challenge their proof. Wires, shatter the screen, unplug the lies, reveal what's unseen. Twist off 360, no filters, just truth. Time to awaken, challenge their proof.
It's time to awaken and challenge their proof, and here is what we are doing. This is just, a team of brilliant people who are trying to do things they wanted to do. Let's go to the Zahran Mamdani, a socialist path to power in New York. There is a political shift unfolding in the heart of United States. Its name is Zahran Mamdani, a socialist revolutionary leftist and pan-Africanist as I am. I find it rare and refreshing to see someone running for office, especially in a place like New York City, not with empty promises, but with class clarity, economic populism, and revolutionary honesty. Mamdani isn't just another progressive. He's rooted in socialist politics and unapologetically names capitalists as the problem. He's not trying to balance interests between the oppressed and the oppressors. He's choosing sides, and that alone makes him dangerous to the political establishment and deeply inspiring to those of us on the global left. What's so powerful about Zahran isn't just his policies, rent control, public housing, taxing the rich, is that he stand firm, calls himself a socialist, and he means to speak as a He means to speak. Like I said, excuse me, guys, he means to speak the truth, the language of working people. He carries the spirit of resistance into the belly of the beast, and he does with so integrity, and that's the rare in politics. Even rarer in the imperial core, as Mandani surges ahead. This will be a signal to the global left. You don't win by watering down your message. You win by standing firm, organizing grassroots, and calling injustice by its name. The world is watching, and the empire may tremble for us, the revolutionaries, the workers. This is a moment to study and support and amplify. This isn't just a New York story, it's a global lesson. And that is the part of Tuesday 360 Politics and Plug, where you can subscribe, support, listen to Koa Podcast and other segments. Thank you, guys. See you in another episode, and keep liking, following, subscribing, and let's grow bigger and bigger and amplify the voice that is rare. Thank you. See you next time.